Opening his eyes, Subaru is extremely confused, then drops to his knees upon remembering what just happened. A touch to his cheek pulls him back to reality, as Priscilla remains the only person unconcerned. Returning to his feet, he prompts Liliana to sing a song of friendship and realizes his previous death is only 15 minutes away. Beatrice is left behind to protect Amelia, though she's well aware something isn't right with her partner. Then with a tug of his sleeve, Amelia tells Subaru to please be careful. With 10 minutes remaining, he sprints to the time tower, not even aware of how he died in the previous loop. Subaru does know he lost his mind, though with so little time remaining, he enters the tower and begins stealthily climbing the stairs. Wielding the whip he's trained with for the past year, he cracks it, aiming for Wrath's neck. Though mid-flight, she asks why he's so angry, before blocking it with a chain. Subaru pulls her into a nasty shoulder charge, successfully knocking her over the railing, plummeting toward the ground. Immediately being untied, Luzbel exclaims his friend Tina will be targeted if he doesn't go through with this, and Subaru begins suddenly and uncontrollably shaking with fear. Luzbel vomits. Subaru feels the nausea creeping up, as a hook stabs into his shoulder, pulling him over the railing. Suspended in midair, with the chain restricting his breathing, he can only listen as Sirius incoherently rambles about love. Subaru's fear steadily intensifies, up to the point that he's even afraid of closing his eyes. Jolting awake, he headbutts Liliana as it sinks in he just died twice in the span of 30 minutes. This time he did learn that he and Luzbel seem to be sharing and amplifying each other's emotions, so that must be Wrath's authority. The question then becomes, what's the trigger to activate it? And Subaru only knows one person with power that can for sure overcome this. Wasting no time, he bolts to the square, ordering Lakens to call Reinhard. This warning is misinterpreted as a threat, but the mention of the witch cult changes his mind. A red light is magically cast into the sky, which inadvertently causes Sirius to step out. Subaru screams, "Don't look!" but finds himself compelled to do just that. Wrath begins her performance, followed by Reinhard apologizing for his delayed response time. With a touch, Subaru regains full control and gives a quick rundown of Wrath's ability. Reinhard, however, states he has part of it wrong, as Sirius can initiate her ability on anyone who simply knows of her existence. Even he isn't sure how long he can withstand it. Wrath attempts to strike up a conversation. Subaru points out talking is a bad idea, so Reinhard leaps, drop-kicking Sirius high into the air. A mid-air superhuman battle commences, with a flurry of chains being deflected by punches and kicks. Remembering Luzbel is inside tied up, Subaru goes to retrieve him, and reappears to the crowd, angrily chanting, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" Sirius is gleeful at the sight of everyone's hearts becoming one, followed by Reinhard asking if she has any last words. So Wrath warns him not to be so kind with the other archbishops. His target attempts to flee. Subaru shouts, "Kill her!" just as Reinhard's hand effortlessly cleaves his opponent in two. With her last breath, Sirius mutters, "This world is so kind." Reinhard then despairs upon watching all the spectators get bisected in the exact same way. Then as his world fades to black, Subaru simply squeezes Luzbel's hand. Beatrice kicks Subaru due to the pain of having her hand crushed. Amelia brings up his paleness, as his memories come fading back. Wrath has the power to connect people's emotions and physical damage, which explains how he died during the first loop. Making an excuse for his odd behavior, this time Subaru forces Beatrice to come with him to buy the group snacks. After walking a bit, Subaru attempts to explain the situation, including that Wrath's authority connects people's emotions and physical pain. Surprised he wasn't punished for sharing that info, Subaru learns that Betty won't be able to function if Reinhard's around, due to his inherent power monopolizing all magical spirits within the area. They reach the clock tower, and Beatrice assumes Wrath's authority is similar to the magic spell Necht, meaning they can just use Shamak to counter it. However, Subaru will then have to defeat Sirius by himself. An enticing voice asks if this is where she comes in, especially since she's not about to let Subaru take on the witch cult without her. Being well aware of Amelia's stubbornness, plus the fact he's died 3 times in the last hour, Subaru gives in, but orders her to always prioritize her own safety. Then after verifying Amelia overheard all the details, they decide to have her launch the preemptive attack. Sirius announces, wham! An icicle slams into the tower. The crowd turns to them in a rage, prompting Amelia to conjure an ice sword, stepping to the front. Subaru wants to know if Shamak is ready, but Beatrice angrily mutters, this authority is nothing like magic, meaning Shamak will have no effect. The icicle explodes, revealing a bloody Sirius, who spits insults at this dirty half-demon. Landing on the ground, her hands are engulfed in flames as she declares herself and her intent to incinerate this half-demon and spirit. This drastic change of character has Subaru stunned, all the while Sirius goes on and on about how this half-demon has offended her. Amelia attacks, lunging forward. Her blade snaps, but instantly transforms into a hammer, knocking Sirius away, as the bloodthirsty crowd closes in around our duo. They escape into the clock tower to retrieve Luzbel. At the top, Subaru narrowly ducks under a sword-wielding foxman, giving Beatrice time to disorient him with Shamak. Looking outside, Amelia's spear nears its target, but is engulfed by flames, forcing Amelia away. Wrath and Amelia end up locking blades, until Amelia collapses to her knees, where she's told her birth was a mistake. An upward slash grazes Sirius's cloak, as a young girl is revealed as a hostage. Amelia screams, "This wrath is wasted on you," before a shockwave knocks her backward, prompting Subaru to leap out of the clock tower in a desperate attempt to reach his lady. Magic cushions their fall, but fear overcomes them, robbing their ability to move. So the best they can do is look away, as their beloved half-elf is consumed by an inferno. A voice declares he made it just in time to collect his 79th bride, and proceeds to introduce himself as the Archbishop of Greed, Regulus Corneus. Demanding to know what Greed is doing, Subaru winds up being scolded for not introducing himself. A second inferno engulfs their friend, but Greed nullifies it, asking who raised Wrath to be so rude. You come to find out Sirius was in love with Petalgeist, as her next attack is brushed off just like before. With Beatrice's help, Subaru regains his courage, promises to save Tina, before telling Luzbel to run away. Wrapping his whip around Greed's neck, Betty follows up with Shamak, but it does little more than piss him off. With a shout, Subaru releases his mana, and Beatrice transforms it into an original spell named EMM. A hand of sure death grabs Subaru's body, but it phases right through, allowing a sucker punch to knock Greed back. Regulus counterattacks, but Unseen Providence keeps them at bay. While coughing up blood as payment, Subaru screams, asking why he wants Amelia so badly. Well, obviously, it's because she has a pretty face. Our duo orders him to just die, as they unleash another unique spell, but flames split the battlefield as Sirius excitedly looks toward Subaru, exclaiming her darling Petalgeist has returned. Playing into her misunderstanding of his invisible providence, he asks her to stop hurting innocent people, but she refuses, especially since that spirit is clinging to him. Though with the noon bell tolling, both archbishops stop fighting and say their goodbyes. Of course, Subaru sprints after Amelia, causing Greed to turn back around. Choosing to leave him alive, as a future wedding guest, he taps the ground, launching a rock clean through Subaru's leg. Beatrice immediately begins healing her fallen partner, followed by every person around collapsing with the same injury. Wrath then vows to visit the spirit once again, and to reclaim her precious. Waking up feeling half dead, he finds himself in a makeshift hospital. Ferris strictly orders him to rest, before revealing Amelia is missing and his partner is sleeping right beside him. Though Beatrice is currently in an indefinite coma due to expending too much mana by saving every civilian in that square. It's sad because her condition would be an easy fix if Subaru wasn't such a pitiful excuse for a mage. Unable to help his partner, he will go rescue Amelia instead, but Ferris shoves him back, exclaiming he has to rest and that his decisions affect more than himself. Reluctantly giving in, he thanks his friends, causing Al to point to the young boy who brought him to the clock tower. Lady Krush then arrives, revealing that while he was asleep, the witch cult used the town's media to broadcast a message to the entire city. The person doing the announcing was the Archbishop of Lust, Emerada Lugunica. Upstairs, Subaru takes a seat, wondering why this base of operations is at the Muse Company. It turns out Mr. Kiritaka is part of the Council of 10, aka the group of people who run the city. At the moment, they're yet to find any sign of Otto. However, Subaru isn't worried, because Otto has an uncanny knack for surviving bad situations. Felt's group is currently missing as well, though they heard she originally had plans to meet up with Priscilla. So along with overrunning City Hall, which contains the broadcast media, the witch cult also took over the 4 water control towers at the edge of the city. Now understanding the city could be flooded literally any moment, Subaru wants to know why the Archbishop of Lust is using the same surname as the royal family. Roughly 50 years ago, there was a princess in Lugunica named Emerada, but she died young while being known as a dark and cruel heretic, which the kingdom didn't even mourn. Back to the problem, Anastasia reveals that during the broadcast, Lust demanded they hand over the witch's bones. Many people here are confused. Anastasia explains the city was originally built as a trap, followed by Al muttering, the Witch of Pride, Typhon, supposedly drowned in a flood. Anastasia believes the Council of 10 knows of the bones' location, though she doesn't trust the Council to not hand them over. That being said, they can't act until they have more info, followed by their communication media lighting up. Julius reports the city is in utter chaos, followed by TV panicking asking about his older sister. The media changes to hetero, declaring Mimi is in danger. Apparently, due to their blessing of thirds, all three twins share part of each other's pain, so they can tell Mimi is currently gravely injured. A broadcast speaks over them, with Lust wondering if her voice is exciting all the meatbags. She proclaims that some idiots attempted to attack City Hall. Suddenly, Garfield bursts inside, collapsing in front of Subaru with a bloody Mimi in his arms. It was the day prior when Garfield was depressed due to his encounter with Reinhard. Not only is Mimi obsessively following him around, but he keeps seeing a shadowy manifestation of his own weakness in the form of the only person he's ever killed. I mean, he vowed to always protect those precious to him, yet he retreated so quickly when faced with a stronger person. Though this time spent with Mimi is honestly helping Garfield to calm down. It's then a few moments later, they spot a runaway boat. Garfield leaps in, rescuing some children, earning him cheers from the crowd. The kids in particular look up to him as a hero, causing Garfield to strike a pose, giving himself the title Gorgeous Tiger. After spending a bit of time with the children, he escorts each of them home, until a lone blonde-haired boy is left. A girl lovingly screams for Fred before drop-kicking him. Stomping on Garfield's foot, she exclaims she'll protect her little brother, followed by Fred begging Gorgeous Tiger not to eat his big sister. The sight of their approaching mother nearly stops Garfield's heart, as he reflexively mutters, "Mom." They're invited inside, where Garfield stares at this woman named Lyra Thompson, who was uncannily similar to his own deceased mother. It was shortly after giving birth to Garfield that Mom left in search of his father, though she only made it a short distance before being caught in a landslide. The little boy prevents Garfield from leaving. Lyra lovingly corrects him, as this mother-son moment nearly breaks Garfield's heart. Mimi pulls him toward the exit, just as the husband and father returns home. Mimi shouts for him to stop, snapping Garfield back to reality and letting go of her now bruised wrist. She states he's been acting weird, followed by the husband catching up, thanking them for saving his son. This man's name is Gallic Thompson, and he works at City Hall helping to manage the city. Needing to know, Garfield asks if Lyra is her real name, causing the mood to darken as it's explained Gallic found Lyra 15 years ago on the side of the road, injured from a landslide, but no prior memories. The story is met with silence, followed by Gallic asking how Garfield is related to Lyra, desperately struggling to remain in control, and with Mimi's small hand gripping his own, Garfield stutters through the words, "I've no relationship with her." Noticing the young man's obvious pain, Gallic apologizes, just before Lyra arrives, handing them a bag of homemade sweets as a thank you. This causes Garfield's heartache to become way too much for one person to bear, so Mimi kindly accepts the sweets before dragging him away. Now on a rooftop, Mimi says you don't need to act so tough, as she can tell their relationship due to their scents. What's he supposed to do? If Garfield tells Lyra, "Hey, I'm your son," then she'll have to cope with 15 years worth of guilt, not to mention it could potentially tear her family apart. Being embraced from behind, Garfield jerks, asking the heck she's trying to do. Mimi was taught, you have to give men a place to cry, so he can cry in the arms of the woman he loves. That's incorrect, because Garfield doesn't love her, but Mimi doesn't mind, as she's already fallen in love with him. Thus the emotions overflow. The next day, while walking through the street, Garfield apologizes for the previous night. She wonders if it's really okay not to tell Lyra, while the only thing Garfield is unsure about is whether or not to tell his sister. You then find out that Mimi doesn't know either of her parents and sees Anastasia as her true family. With a pat to her head, Mimi leaps away, saying it feels weird acting too friendly with him for some reason now. A broadcast begins asking if all the useless meatbags could please just drop dead. They've already gained control of the 4 water towers, making everyone essentially an insect in their cage. This voice then demands the witch's bones be brought to her, before finally introducing herself as the witch cult's Archbishop of Lust, Capella Emerata Lugunica. Rushing back to their allies, they're stopped by Lyra, who's worried for her missing kids and husband. Garfield reassures Lyra he'll find her family, and tells Mimi to go back alone, but a stomp to his foot says she won't be leaving him. With the scent of the kids leading to safety, they turn towards City Hall in search of Gallic. The stench of blood overwhelms them. Mimi wants to fall back, but Garfield turns the corner, finding 30+ corpses belonging to the city guard. It's easy to tell this hooded duo is far stronger than themselves. However, Garfield isn't about to back down without trying. So instead, Mimi convinces him to retreat after a single crossing of blades. Charging forward, blocking her sword, Garfield counters but is nimbly evaded. Another blocked kick sends her light body flying, giving him a good moment to retreat. However, this opening is too perfect to pass up. Wham! Bones creaking, body bouncing off the ground. The elegant swordswoman and giant brute are relentless. As a last-ditch effort, he transforms his upper body, causing the giant to reveal 2 additional arms. Accepting his incoming demise, a magic barrier protects him as Mimi screams,
"You agreed to retreat!"
Grabbing his savior, they leap away, but a high-pitched cry causes him to look down at the woman's sword piercing Mimi's body. Another leap earns them freedom, where Garfield begins pouring all of his mana into a healing spell, yet the wound is refusing to close. In the midst of panic and despair, a hard punch to his own face clears his thoughts. Crashing inside, he apologizes to Subaru, followed by Ferris swiftly administering healing magic far superior to his own. Subaru praises him for bringing Mimi here, just as Ferris exclaims magic isn't working. They take Mimi downstairs to use non-magical medicine, just as a broadcast of lust, taunting them, pierces their ears. Subaru can't help but notice a familiar noise in the background, and Lust threatens to hurt the hostages if they don't comply with her previous demand. A moment later, Wilhelm returns, proclaiming Mimi's wound must be the blessing of the Grim Reaper, and that his wife, the previous Sword Saint, was the only person known to have this ability. To make matters worse, Wilhelm's old wound has also reopened, and he promises to personally punish anyone who dares desecrate his wife's soul. Joining them, Kiritaka worries for the hostages, but Anastasia wants to first verify the witch's bones. He admits they exist and are only known by the council, however moving them would cause the city to be destroyed. Ricardo then thanks Garfield for saving Mimi, followed by Subaru encouraging Garfield to explain what happened. Now understanding the full situation, Ricardo proclaims it was Mimi's choice to save him, but Garfield still blames himself and vows to get revenge on that woman. Next, Julius wants to know how Subaru would proceed, and of course his gut instinct is to rescue Amelia, however it's currently more important to retake City Hall. That being said, the witch cult has taken over the 4 control towers plus City Hall, so it's likely an archbishop is stationed at each location. Re-entering the room, Ferris explains that Mimi's wound still won't close, however her life has been extended due to her brothers amplifying their blessing to the extreme. Though that now means if one of them dies, the other 2 will as well, and they jokingly promise to haunt Ricardo if he doesn't save them. Anastasia is ready to give the order. Ricardo declares they'll do it fast, with him, Garfield, Wilhelm, Julius, and Krusch volunteering. The group wants to know if Al will join them, but he declines, choosing to search for Priscilla. Bearing the pain, Subaru rises to his feet, as Ferris tells him he'll regret this when his leg falls off, but Subaru will regret doing nothing even more. Reluctantly giving in, a spell is cast numbing the pain, followed by Subaru's addition being met by unexpected encouragement. Then just before departing, Al gives them a warning to not use their real names if they encounter the Archbishop of Gluttony. They hesitate upon turning the corner to City Hall, as the corpses they were expecting have been replaced by disgusting flesh creatures. The expected opponents drop from the roof, blocking Krusch's wind blades on the way down. Combining 3 spirits, Julius restricts their movement, as Garfield charges in, jumping over a slash. Using his momentum to free herself and deliver a knee to Garfield's face, she also manipulates his shields to fend off and knock away Wilhelm. At the same time, Ricardo has his opponents on the ropes, but an extra set of arms equalizes this fight, followed by 4 more overwhelming him. Cracking his whip as a distraction lets Julius separate the group with an inferno, though a single sword slice disrupts his low-level spell. Realizing their ranged abilities are their advantage, they prepare for a second strike, as a woman's voice praises them for taking such obvious bait. They're greeted by a black dragon, who introduces itself as the Archbishop of Lust, Capella Immerata Lugunica. From experience, Wilhelm proclaims they'll first destroy its wings, and Lust notices Subaru's scent doesn't belong with the rest. A pissed off Subaru then unleashes a barrage of long-winded insults, before declaring he's stalled long enough. Julius unleashes Al Clausaria, an attack combining all 6 of his great spirits, scoring a critical hit. Garfield duels the giant, as Wilhelm goes blow for blow against the woman. With a shout, Krusz tackles Subaru, before Ricardo unleashes a powerful roar, dispersing the incoming black flames. Lust then taunts these perverts about viewing her insides, as her half-destroyed body and face pieces itself back together. The bell tower tolls, prompting Lust to excuse herself, vanishing onto the roof. Knowing they can't allow her to escape, our frontliners stay behind, followed by Subaru picking up Krusz before Julius launches them into the air. Thanks to his whip, they crash onto the rooftop unharmed, with the exception of some eerie popping sound within his leg. Flipping the bird to Julius for good measure, they turn toward the door, which explodes off its hinges. A young boy then steps outside, introducing himself as the Archbishop of Gluttony, Roy Alfard. Wind blades and a thrust are dodged and parried, as Subaru yanks her out of danger with his whip. Picking her up once again to flee, Julie praises the Moppet Mage as his surprise attack draws first blood. Now, is Subaru really just gonna leave when the key to Waking Rim is right here? Though it's the Valkyrie, who had her own memory stolen by Gluttony, that strengthens his resolve to continue onward. Telling his definitely not friend he better not lose, Subaru leaps off the roof, using his whip to swing down, crashing through a window. That shortcut lands them directly in the room with the Metia, and after the shock of the crash wears off, Subaru finds Krusz battling the dragon. Due to the cramped room, she actually has the advantage, giving Subaru leeway to slide underneath it, rescuing a hostage. Without mercy, she relentlessly batters the beast, pushing it back and eventually blasting it outside through a window. As she goes to verify the beast is dead, Subaru unties this girl, asking where the other hostages are located. Opening said door, he screams, finding it filled with human-sized flies. Turning back, Krusz falls to the ground bleeding, as the hostage girl stands over top, kicking her. Lust can't believe he really fell for the damsel in distress, and asks if the sight of her bare feet excites him. Using his whip to throw some debris, half of her head is crushed, but a tail slams into him, followed by a beastly arm and razor-sharp feathers. With that, Subaru finally realizes her ability is transformation, and Lust proclaims her goal is to monopolize all of the world's love for herself. To this end, she can change her body to suit anyone's taste, and wonders which one Subaru might prefer. Completely disgusted, he realizes the dragon that was inside never spoke, meaning she posed as a dragon on the outside, all to set up this elaborate trap inside using the real dragon. Lust then states that by now, he should know where these monsters are coming from. Subaru despairs, blurting out she has the ability to transform others. The dragon, flesh creatures, and flies were all the human hostages, and since they're no longer human, any love directed at them can now be freely given to her instead. With a sullen face, Subaru understands. Excitedly, she asks him to express his feelings. Go die. As he attacks with the whip, picking up Krusz, he tries to flee. As the pissed off Lust screams, all men are the same. After a barrage of attacks in the form of a lion and snake, Lust transforms into a familiar face and begins rambling off a long list of stereotypical love phrases, before deeming them all bullshit, since meatbags only ever care about looks. Doing everything it takes to dodge, Subaru simply focuses on the fading life resting within his arms. Enraged at being ignored, the lion bites off his leg, followed by Lust apologizing for getting so upset. It's just such a waste they're both nearly dead, so she slices open her wrist, pouring her black blood onto their wounds, vividly feeling this foreign substance slowly penetrate every inch of his body. Subaru spirals into fear, not knowing what will happen upon being transformed. I mean, if he doesn't die, this might not activate his return by death. At that moment, the dragon climbs back into the room, bathing everything in black flames. Waking up without clothes in an unfamiliar room, Emilia wraps herself in a blanket before stepping into the hallway. This man is very glad she's awake, but scolds her for getting up so quickly, as her body is no longer her own to worry about. The way too overly friendliness creeps her out, and the stranger introduces himself as Regulus Cornelius, her husband. Emilia is going to be his oh-so-important 79th bride, and explains the other wives will help her prepare for the ceremony. Realizing he got carried away, Regulus states he needs her to answer this next question truthfully, as he must verify she's yet to sleep with anyone. Before we go, I want to shout out Lightning for becoming my newest patron.